A foot fetish, sometimes referred to by the clinical term podophilia, is a specific type of sexual interest focused on feet. For individuals with this fetish, the sight, touch, smell, or even just the thought of feet can be a source of significant sexual arousal and pleasure. This interest goes beyond a simple appreciation for well-kept feet. It's really a pronounced and honestly, often primary component of their sexual landscape. The fetish can manifest in various ways, ranging from a desire to massage, kiss, or lick feet, to enjoying the act of having one's own feet attended to in a similar manner. It can also involve an attraction to things associated with feet, such as shoes, socks, or anklets, which, become objects of arousal themselves. The experience of a foot fetish is unique to each person who has one. For some, it's a mild preference that enhances their sexual encounters, adding an extra layer of excitement to intimacy with a partner. For others, it can be a central and necessary element for achieving sexual satisfaction. The focus of the attraction can also be highly specific. One person might be drawn to the shape and arch of the foot, another to the length and appearance of the toes, and yet another to the texture of the sole. Understanding this diversity is key to appreciating that a foot fetish is not a monolithic interest, but a deeply personal and varied aspect of human sexuality. It's important to distinguish between a fetish and a paraphilia. In clinical terms, a fetish is simply a strong sexual preference for a non-genital body part or an inanimate object. It only becomes a paraphilic disorder when it causes significant personal distress, harms others, or interferes with a person's ability to function in daily life. For the vast majority of people with a foot fetish, their interest is a harmless and consensual part of their sexuality. It is a preference, much like having a preference for a certain hair color or body type, and it doesn't inherently signal any psychological issue or problem that needs to be fixed or addressed. This form of sexual interest is perhaps one of the most well-known non-genital fetishes in popular culture, often depicted in movies and television shows. However, these portrayals can sometimes be misleading, sensationalized, or played for comedic effect, which, unfortunately, can create misconceptions. In reality, a foot fetish is a legitimate and genuine form of sexual expression for many individuals around the world. It's a subject that really benefits from open-minded discussion and accurate information, allowing for a better understanding of the diverse ways in which people experience attraction and arousal, moving beyond stereotypes to see the human experience behind the label. Research on sexual fantasies and desires consistently shows that foot fetishes are among the most common types of fetishes. Studies analyzing online search data, community forums, and self-reported surveys indicate a significant portion of the population holds some degree of sexual interest in feet. While exact percentages can vary depending on the study's methodology, feet are frequently ranked as the most fetishized non-genital body part. This prevalence suggests that it is far from a rare or unusual interest. Rather, it is a relatively common variation in human sexual attraction that many people experience, even if they do not always speak about it openly due to social stigma or personal shyness. The question of why some people develop a foot fetish is complex, with several compelling theories but no single definitive answer. One prominent neurological explanation points to the organization of the human brain. The area of the somatosensory cortex that processes sensory information from the feet is located directly adjacent to the area that processes sensations from the genitals. Some neuroscientists propose that this proximity could lead to cross-wiring or neural crosstalk between these two regions. This could mean that stimulation of the foot area might inadvertently activate the genital area, creating a learned association between feet and sexual arousal over time. Another perspective comes from psychology, suggesting that early life experiences and conditioning may play a crucial role. A person might have had a positive or sexually charged experience involving feet during a formative period, such as puberty. This single powerful event could create a lasting association in their mind, linking feet with feelings of pleasure and excitement. Over time, this connection can be reinforced through fantasy and further experiences, solidifying the fetish. This theory highlights the idea that our sexual preferences are often shaped by a unique combination of personal history, chance encounters, and our individual psychological makeup. Ultimately, the origin of a foot fetish is likely a combination of biological predispositions and environmental factors. It could be a mix of brain structure, learned associations, and even cultural cues that subtly sexualize feet. For most people, the specific why is less important than the what, the simple fact that feet are a source of pleasure for them. Acknowledging that there are plausible scientific and psychological explanations helps to normalize the experience. It moves the conversation away from judgment and toward a more curious and accepting understanding of the intricate and often mysterious pathways of human desire. The way foot fetishes are viewed varies significantly across different cultures and has changed throughout history. In some historical contexts and societies, the foot has been openly regarded as an erogenous and beautiful part of the body. For instance, the historical practice of foot binding in imperial China, while now seen as a brutal and oppressive tradition, was rooted in an aesthetic and erotic fascination with small, delicate feet. Similarly, in various forms of ancient Indian and Middle Eastern art and literature, the adornment of feet with jewelry and henna was not just for decoration, but also carried strong, sensual and romantic connotations, celebrating the foot as an object of beauty and desire. In contrast, many contemporary Western societies have historically held a more reserved or even dismissive view of foot fetishes. Often, anything outside of a narrow definition of normal sexuality has been stigmatized or treated as a psychological peculiarity. This can lead individuals with a foot fetish to feel isolated, ashamed, or worried about being judged by others. Media portrayals have often reinforced this by presenting the fetish as a quirky character flaw or a source of humor, rather than a valid aspect of someone's sexuality. This cultural messaging can make it difficult for people to accept this part of themselves or feel comfortable sharing it with a partner. However, social attitudes are gradually shifting toward greater openness and acceptance of diverse sexual interests. The rise of the internet has been a significant factor in this change. It has allowed people with shared interests, including foot fetishes, to connect in online communities where they can share experiences and information without fear of judgment. This has helped to build a sense of community and normalize the fetish for many individuals. As society becomes more educated about the wide spectrum of human sexuality, the stigma surrounding fetishes is slowly diminishing, replaced by a more inclusive and understanding perspective. Furthermore, the mainstreaming of discussions around sexuality and consent has encouraged a more sex-positive outlook. This movement emphasizes that as long as a sexual interest is consensual and does not cause harm, it should be considered valid and acceptable. This evolving cultural conversation is helping to reframe foot fetishes not as a deviation, but simply as one of many different flavors in the rich and varied buffet of human attraction. It encourages us to question rigid social norms and embrace a more compassionate and curious approach to understanding what brings people pleasure and fulfillment in their intimate lives. For anyone with a foot fetish, open and honest communication with a partner is the most important step in exploring this interest together. Bringing up the topic can feel daunting, but choosing a calm, private moment to talk is key. You can start by discussing fantasies and sexual interests in general, creating a safe space for both of you to share. Using I statements, such as "I find feet really attractive" or "I have a fantasy about massaging your feet," can make the conversation feel less like a demand and more like a personal revelation. It is crucial to be patient and give your partner time to process the information, listen to their feelings, and answer any questions they may have. Consent and respect must be the foundation of any activity related to a foot fetish. It is essential to remember that your partner's body is their own, and their comfort and enthusiasm are paramount. This means clearly asking for permission before touching, kissing, or engaging in any other foot-related activity. Pay close attention to their verbal and nonverbal cues. If they seem hesitant or uncomfortable, it is important to stop and check in with them. Respect also involves appreciating their boundaries. They may be open to some activities but not others, and those limits must be honored without pressure or guilt. Exploring a foot fetish can be a fun and creative way to add a new dimension of intimacy and playfulness to a relationship. There are many ways to incorporate it, from gentle foot massages with scented oils to more playful activities like foot worship or using feet to caress other parts of the body. For those who enjoy footwear, incorporating high heels, stockings, or certain types of sandals into foreplay can also be exciting. The key is to find activities that are mutually enjoyable. When a partner is willing to participate, it can be a profound act of love and acceptance that deepens the emotional and physical connection between two people. Ultimately, having a foot fetish, or any fetish, is a normal and valid part of the vast spectrum of human sexuality. There is nothing inherently wrong or shameful about finding arousal in something that others may not. Our sexual preferences are as unique as our fingerprints, shaped by a complex interplay of biology, psychology, and personal experience. Embracing your desires, communicating them respectfully, and exploring them consensually is a sign of sexual maturity and self-acceptance. In a healthy and fulfilling sexual life, the goal is not to conform to a specific standard, but to discover and celebrate what brings you and your partner pleasure, connection, and joy.